Hello, I'm Miss Robinson, teacher of French and German at Cooper's, and you're no doubt watching this video because you'd like to find out a little bit more about the GCSE French course. So let's get started. So, at Cooper's, you have to study at least one language for GCSE, whether that's French, German, or Spanish. And this can be the one that you started in year 7, but it doesn't have to be, which means if you started to learn French in year 8, you can still choose to take it as your language option, and you won't be disadvantaged at your GCSE. You can also choose to continue to study both languages should you wish to. I've broken down the key information for the course in under 3 subheadings: the course content, assessment, and why study French. So let's look at each of those in turn. Your course content is split into 3 themes: identity and culture, local, national, international, and global areas of interest, and current and future study and employment. So if we look at each of those in a little bit more detail, in identity and culture, you study 4 subtopics. So me, my family, and friends, where you talk about relationships with your family and friends, personality, key qualities in friendship, and you also talk about marriage and partnership. In topic 2, technology in everyday life, you talk about social media, mobile technology. For example, you might be using a Kindle now to do your reading, and you also talk about internet safety. And in topic 3, for your free time activities, you discuss your music listening habits, cinema and TV, food, eating out, and sport. And then the 4th topic is customs and festivals in French-speaking countries and communities. And within that, you include Christmas, Easter, and other festivals that the French celebrate. In local, national, international, and global areas of interest, there are also 4 subtopics. The first one is your hometown, neighbourhood, and region, your local area. So you'll talk about what there is to do in your town, what there is in your town, what there isn't. Second topic is social issues. So you talk about charity, volunteer work, and your healthy and unhealthy living. In topic 3, you talk about global issues, so the environment, poverty, homelessness, etc. And in topic 4, you do travel and tourism, and within that you could talk about your holidays that you go on, what you're going to do on holiday, etc. And then finally, for current and future study and employment, there are also 4 subtopics. So talking about your studies at school, what life is like at school, and also in a French school. You'll look at your post-16 education, so whether you'd like to do an apprenticeship, go to 6th form, or just some other kind of education. And topic 4 is your jobs, career choices, and ambitions, and what you'd like to do in the future, basically. And then, obviously, you have to take a GCSE at the end of your 2-year course. So let's look a bit at how that is assessed. You're assessed in 4 key skills for language learning. So your listening skills, speaking skills, writing skills, and your reading skills, and each of those are worth 25% of your overall grade. I'm going to look at each of those in a little bit more detail so you'll know how they're examined, starting with listening. So in the listening exam, you basically have to understand and respond to a listening stimulus, and your response is written. You check boxes, write out short sentences, etc. And there's a 10 minutes difference between the foundation and higher exams for this. And there are 2 sections to the paper. So the first section the questions are in English to be answered in English, and in section B, the questions are in French and answered in French. And then you have the speaking assessment, and where your verbal communication is assessed. It's a non-exam assessment in that you don't go into the big hall with everybody else to be assessed. You have instead a short period of time where you're assessed individually, and the format is the same for both foundation and higher tier, but the different materials used for the photo card and the role play basically allow for the distinction within the tiers. And in your role play, it's 2 minutes, both foundation tier and higher tier. There's a photo card where you have 2 minutes at foundation tier and 3 minutes at a higher tier to discuss it. And then you have a general conversation, which is the most weighty bit in terms of your marks, and that lasts 3 to 5 minutes at foundation tier and 5 to 7 minutes at a higher tier. And all of the stimulus are based on the topics that you study. In the reading paper, you're assessed on your understanding of your reading of different texts. There's 45 minutes in the foundation exam and 1 hour in the higher, and there are 3 sections. So in section A, there are questions in English answered in English. In B, there are questions in French answered in French. And section C is a translation from French to English, once again testing your understanding, of which it is 35 words minimum for foundation and 50 words for higher tier. And finally is your writing exam. And this is assessed differently in foundation and higher, but you ultimately test on your written communication of the language. So in your foundation tier, there are 4 questions. You produce 4 sentences in response to a photo, a bit like the photo card in the speaking exam. In your second question, you have to write a 40-word paragraph in response to 4 bullet points. In question 3, you do a short translation from English to French. And question 4, you respond to 4 detailed bullet points and produce about 90 words, and you have a choice of 2 questions. That question 4 is where the overlap is with the higher paper. So your first question in the higher paper, you respond to the 4 detailed bullet points for 90 words. Then you have a second question, which gives you 2 bullet points, so it's much broader, and you're expected to produce 150 words in French for that. And then there is a translation from English into French. And finally, why you should consider to study French. It's fun. You get to learn more about a new culture that's just across the channel. You improve your knowledge of English actually with any language that you study, because the in-depth to which we study the grammar, it means that you actually will better your understanding of English grammar and how that works. Some careers, which I'll go into in a minute when we look into the careers, but some careers have language tests as part of their assessment criteria, so it's useful to be able to have a language under your belt for that. And learning languages helps you see things from a different perspective, and you can understand people better because of that. And a key example in French that you will know is how you say I have breakfast. In French you say je prends le petit déjeuner, which literally in English translates to I take breakfast. And if you were to speak to a French person and they said to you in English, oh, I took breakfast this morning, you would be able to understand that from their perspective they meant have, and they had their breakfast this morning. And in order to have that understanding of people, you would have needed to know the French language and where that would have come from. So that's just really important in general in life, to be able to understand people better and see things from these different perspectives. In terms of the sorts of careers you can go into, there are a multitude. There are lots of people who study French and at GCSE and even go on to A level, and that still doesn't inhibit them in terms of the jobs that they can go to. So languages often lead to teaching or translating, but I've heard of people going into operations management, events management, casting agencies, finance. They've become musicians, and in fact, opera singing and vocal trainer, and both of those cases, they actually said to me that they use their languages in those jobs. Um, you can be a government equalities officer, marketing, content design. There's a bit of everything on there. And French just really opens the doors because it allows you to do almost anything, but also in a French speaking country too. And then I have some student testimonials for the course. So, learning a language allows you to broaden your vocabulary and to express yourself in a different language. Someone said, my experience at Cooper's for GCSE French is one of the main reasons why I took it for A level. They've said, I enjoyed learning about current and future studies as it helped me learn vocabulary that will be useful in my future careers. They've cited that my student gave me the confidence from Key Stage 3 to pursue it to GCSE level. I chose to study both French and German at GCSE and then at A level. I love learning about how each language has its own quirks, especially in grammar. And then others have said, I go to France a lot on holiday, and studying French for GCSE has helped me speak more French when I'm there, like ordering food. And finally, there are many interesting things you learn at GCSE level, which deepen your knowledge of French culture. For example, you learn about the customs and festivals in French-speaking countries. So this is pretty much it in a nutshell for the French course. If you have any questions, please send us an email. You can email Mr. Sack, who's the head of languages, and there's his email there, tsa@cooperscoborn.co.uk. I'm there, Miss Robinson, and my email's underneath, crb@cooperscoborn.co.uk. And you could also ask Mr. Reed, so that's at mrd@cooperscoborn.co.uk. And I look forward to seeing you in my class next year. Thank you.